It's 6 o'clock or 6:01. I call this meeting to order, and Neil, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have minutes of our August 8th meeting. First of all, the minutes of a non-public work session, which was held at 5 o'clock. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
We have a motion by Mike and a second by
Second.
John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those minutes are approved. And secondly, the minutes of our regular August 8th meeting, which was held at 6 o'clock. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
Make a motion to approve them.
By Mike,
Second.
by Neil. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that takes care of that. The announcements are that we'll meet on the following dates. Our regular meetings at 6 PM on September 12th and September 26th will be the next two. And our work review sessions occur prior to the regular meeting at 5 o'clock on each of those dates. Plymouth State University student move-in begins Thursday, August 25th through Sunday, August 28th. High Street will be closed at the Langdon Street intersection for both Thursday and Friday. So that's the end of this week, Thursday and Friday. High Street is closed at Langdon. The town offices will be closed next Monday. Is that next Monday? No, 2 weeks from now, September 5th, in observance of Labor Day. All of the above meetings are held here unless otherwise posted. Weather observations for the month of July are available in the town hall. And anyone wishing to be listed on our agenda should notify the town hall before noon, the Friday before the scheduled meeting. And I think, since there are no entries in the items that come before visitors, we get to visitors. And we have folks here who I understand are known as Sherman's Flyers.
Yep.
Is there a Sherman? There was, is he? Okay.
Oh, yeah, he was
Mr. Dick
a
Sherman.
famous pilot.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of him, okay. Well, so did you guys want to discuss something about your group, and maybe if somebody's put 3 chairs here, so if you all want to come up, and that's fine, or whatever you want to do.
Go ahead. Let me explain. See, Airport manager Colin McGyver, who was, the last minute wasn't able to make it tonight, has sent out a letter. They've been using the airport for model airplane flying for the last 3 years, and we've had some incidents out there that they received a letter from Colin saying the activities out there would have to cease.
Oh,
So they're here to
discuss that.
discuss their side of the argument.
Could we, is there a copy of the letter handy?
I have the copy that Colin gave us.
I can,
I'm just,
I can go make some.
no, I don't think that's necessary. We can just, it's probably not real long, right?
No, it's a single page.
I was just curious to know.
I think
What
if you
it
could just read off the bullets that Colin put on there and the reasons why.
That's the trouble with paper, it multiplies by
It
itself.
does. All right, the letter from Colin, as it was handed to us, says, Sherman's Flyers, Todd Young, President, Lou Whitcomb, Vice President. RE, discontinued use of the municipal airport effective immediately. This letter is intended to notify the Sherman Flyers Club that the use of the Plymouth Municipal Airport facility is no longer available for your organization's use effective immediately. This decision has been made due to the multiple incidences that have taken place at our facility, to include but not limited to a remote-controlled aircraft flying very close in proximity to an aircraft which was departing the runway on July 11th, 2016. Damage that occurred to a hangar owned by Mr. Henry Lynch. Several pilots have expressed concern to the town and me personally, and we have received a report that the FAA has been notified of those concerns. We feel that the operations of your organization have become very unsafe. The above reason, along with the past verbal discussions, have contributed to the town in making this decision. It is your responsibility to notify members of your club. Regards, Colin McIver, Airport Manager. What I would like to do is to address each of those. This is a letter that we have drafted and had printed up some copies, very short and sweet, to the point.
You're lucky Bill Bolton isn't here tonight, because he might have run out. Oh, no.
Oh, no. Make sure I had enough. You got an extra?
Thank you.
The first item, the remote control aircraft flying in close proximity to another aircraft. This occurred, we were at the field. Todd, who was our instructor, who's been flying
My whole life.
your whole life, was on a buddy box system with a student. We had the club's trainer plane in the air. There was nothing happening at the airport at that time. There was nothing flying, nothing in the patterns. A powered parachute came out, set up at the end of the runway, and with no warning whatsoever, powered up and took off, never gave us an indication he was about to do that so that we could get on the ground. Todd did have the plane on the ground by the time that aircraft passed us on the runway. So I mean, I feel very strongly that that person set us up in that position on his own. The second item is the damage that occurred to Henry's hangar. That occurred by someone who was not a member of our club, and we had no knowledge of his presence there at the field. From what we know, or what we've been told, this person who was a member previously had called Colin and asked for permission, and Colin gave him permission to go over to the field and they were supposedly going to be doing some taxiing to see if their plane could handle the grass that we had to fly off of.
Wait, to see if his model plane could
Right.
handle the terrain, the
Right.
turf, okay.
Yeah. What happened, and again, none of us were there, so we don't know as fact, but what we've been told by both Henry and, this was Harry Decker and his brother-in-law, that somehow his brother-in-law got the plane off the ground. They were not flying on what we had as a runway in the area that we had set aside. They were flying behind the hangar. The plane went up, and instead of turning away from the hangar, he did a 180, came around, and he drove the plane right into the side of the hangar. Henry, Bill Albee, Bill Wallace were all in the hangar at that time. So, of course, they naturally heard the crash.
Mhm.
The damage done to the hangar was almost unnoticeable. But somehow, and I've known Henry for a long time.
Henry is the owner? of
Henry
the
Lynch
hangar?
owns the hangar, yes. He and I have worked together for the past 30 years. He's had worked for the co-op, and I was an electrician. We were back and forth with each other all the time. He's taken me up flying. He's always been a super nice guy.
Mhm.
For some reason, Henry not only wanted the entire sheet of metal replaced, but filed a police report on it. I don't know. But again, what I'm trying to say is this damage to the hangar has zero to do with the Sherman's Flyers Club. We had no knowledge of the people being there. We didn't give them permission to be there. It should not even be in this letter, as far as I'm concerned, to us. And then the third incident, which they've mentioned other incidences. Todd and I were there, and I don't even know the date because we weren't keeping track of those things because we had no inkling that there was a problem. We had the trainer in the air.
What's the trainer?
It's one of our small aircraft. It's a next to indestructible
I
type
see.
thing that can withstand a few crashes here and there. Todd had flown that. We'd brought that back on the ground. We had fueled up my Cub, of a scale model of a Cub. We had fueled that up when Alex Ray showed up. He came across the field to us, talked with us for quite a while there, said that he had come down to take up the Plymouth Air Club's plane to do some landing and takeoffs to keep his certificate. I'm not aware of what they have to go through.
That's what he said.
So we had, said, okay, we're on the ground. He did his thing. He flew for what, maybe a half hour? He did 2 or 3 landings and takeoffs,
Yeah.
staying right there in the pattern.
Well, he wanted to know, first of all, if we had comms.
Yes.
So at that time, we told him that the Plymouth Airport had bought a Unicom radio so that we could be on comms, because the individual that Lou has been talking about wanted us to be on comms.
What is it? What's comps?
Well,
Communication.
Radio so that
Oh,
we could
Frequency.
communicate with pilots in the area.
So we told Alex that we had a radio. We went over and we got it. And when Alex got in the air, he checked for comms that we were listening to him. We said, yep, we hear you 5x5. And I told him that everything was fine. And then continue.
We say he flew in and out his times. When he finished, he parked the plane, did his thing with the plane, and he left. As soon as he was basically on the ground, Bill Wallace got his powered parachute out, set it up, and took off. I don't remember if he said anything before he took off.
No, he didn't say
But we weren't
anything
in
on
the air,
comms.
there was no problem, he took off. He stayed right there at the airport, going around back and forth, touch and goes, landings. He did a couple engine out, just right there, basically kept us on the ground, which we had no problem with. We put a tank of fuel through my Cub, which it always helps to run them up. Then, on one of his last passes, he came on the radio and said, okay, if you model airplanes want to fly, do it now. I'm going up the valley. Well, maybe he's had a change of heart. I picked up the radio. I said, thank you, Bill. That was the last we heard from him. We fueled up the Cub. We had the Cub in the air maybe 10 to 15 minutes. He came back with not so much as keying the mic on the radio. He came back in from the sun end, from the sun to his back, under low power. We couldn't see him or hear him. And when he showed up, he was right there on top of us, and we still had a plane in the air. Todd brought that Cub down fast enough so that it deformed my landing gear. And that's how fast he got it back on the ground, trying to do everything the way it should be done. And I grabbed the radio. I said, Bill, you should have let us know you're coming in. We could have got on the ground. He says, don't worry about it. I've got you on my GoPro. So now what he has is a digital film of us with the plane in the air while he's trying to land. The last point on this letter from Colin says, we feel the operations of your organization have become very unsafe. Both of the items that we've just gone over were not our being unsafe. Those items were created specifically to make us look bad. We have done everything, we have been on the paperwork end of this club for over 3 years, trying to make sure that everything was done right above the boards and the way it should be. Todd has been in contact with different school organizations looking to get the youth involved. We've done everything that we can possibly do to make this as safe as possible. And Mr. Wallace has told us to our face that he will do anything he has to get us out of the airport.
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
So Wallace, is that Bill Wallace?
That is William Wallace.
And what does he fly?
He flies a powered parachute.
Okay, so this is the same, you were talking about the powered parachute, that's the same
Yes,
person from the other incident?
yes, both incidents were
Okay.
created by him.
And how did Alex,
It just happened,
there was not an incident with Alex? though?
no, there was
You
no
were
incident
just-
with Alex.
Okay,
We brought that up to,
but there's two with Bill.
there's two with Bill.
And
We've had-
one
we've
is
had-
when he says, I got you on my GoPro.
We've had no incidents with anybody,
Well-
except for Bill.
And the other one, I'm sorry, the other one was what? It wasn't the, what was
The
it?
hangar.
It was the hangar incident.
Hitting the hangar had to do with
Yes,
him?
that, a past member of the club, someone who had belonged to the club last year, had not paid his dues.
But what's that got to do with Wallace?
That has nothing to do with Wallace. That
Okay.
has something to do with
One of the
what-
bullets.
That was an
one of the
incident.
points on
Right,
the
okay.
town's letter to us.
That, again, we feel by all rights, intents, and purposes, should not even be included.
Because they
And
weren't affiliated with your
who's the
club.
person who owns the hangar?
Henry Lynch,
All right. I'm not, I don't know this group, so I apologize. Oh, it says right here, Mr. So you're addressing the hangar here,
the hangar basically should not even been included
and you,
against us, so to speak. We had zero to do with that.
so you've really addressed two incidents here.
There was another incident.
What was the third thing in Collins' letter? Were there three?
Yeah, there was the hangar.
The hangar,
He's telling you he's got a conflict.
our remote control aircraft flying in a very close proximity to an aircraft which was departing the runway.
Can't talk on behalf of.
And they
What's-
have July 11th as a
There
date
was
for
another
that
incident.
incident.
So do you know what that is about?
Well,
That was, I believe, and we don't have records, we
Okay.
weren't
You can
keeping,
write it
I
down.
assume the only time that we've been there when anybody has been taking off and we had a plane flying was when Bill Wallace powered up and took off without giving us any warning as to his,
Okay, so one of these incidents you think is Bill Wallace taking off, and the other one is Bill Wallace coming in.
right, those are the
Okay.
two that
Gotcha,
we
I get
feel
it now.
is what they have listed as us being very unsafe.
Okay, I understand now, I think, I was just a little confused with it. So I understand the three. And you, yeah, okay, I understand. In fact, in your second or third paragraph here, you said landing and taking off without using the radio. So you're sort of addressing one here and the other. All right. So, I don't think we're going to countermand the airport manager's letter without having a discussion with him,
Right, no, I
So-
understand that.
And I think what would make sense and chime in, gentlemen, but I'm thinking that maybe we should have a discussion with, and of
I'd
course.
just like to make a couple comments. There was another incident involving an RC helicopter, unrelated to you guys,
Okay.
that occurred over on the other side of the runway, and the helicopter crashed in close proximity to planes that were tied down near the terminal building. I personally have been watching your club for years.
Mr.
and
Moderator,
There's never
sorry.
been an incident.
Thank you.
I've
A
never
conflict
seen
of
an
interest.
incident.
Well,
But wait a minute, I'm speaking on my own behalf.
I understand.
Really.
Well, let's, in the interest of full disclosure, you know this is Colin's dad here.
I know that.
Okay.
We're quite aware of that.
No, I've been watching their operation for years, and up until now, I didn't know of any incidents.
Can I ask you guys, how many members do you have in your club?
Right now, this year,
Can I talk just a little
Sure.
bit? All right. The club, again, is taking a little while to kind of ramp up.
Right.
I did that on purpose because I wanted to make sure that we didn't have a lot of trained pilots, so I'm the trainer of the people, and I wanted them to be able to understand what we were looking for future trainers and proficient pilots. So we've been taking it slow, and I've done that on purpose so that we could have a chance to be acclimated into the airport. Because up to that point, before I started the club, Sherman's Flyers, I would fly there by myself. And again, really no problems, any problem, people knew me, stuff like that. Well, I got to a point where I wanted to kind of pay this forward. I wanted to be able to give what Dick Sherman had shared with me and pay it forward. He was one of the very first people to have a model airplane museum here, right in the town of Plymouth. So I wanted to incorporate history into the club. I wanted to incorporate participation of schools and troubled youth. Some of the problems that I was trying to address was even setting up for like the preschool kids to be able to have a chance to just have something in their life. So I went to Colin and said to Colin that this is what I would like to do. And I showed him the booklet that we give out to everybody and all the AMA regulations and everything that we need to abide by. It's quite extensive. And we make sure that we have a safe flying site.
Okay, Mike?
Are there other clubs that use, similar clubs to yours that would use an airport?
Yes, they do.
Oh, yeah.
The AMA is well known by the FAA. And because of a municipal airport, AMAs are very well recognized in FAA environment that way. When you start getting into controlled space, it's a little bit different. But this is a non-controlled airport, and it's a municipality. It's owned by the town. And so a lot of the rules that would really be strictly enforced with regulated AMA airports are not regulated here. We don't even need to have a radio to communicate with aircraft or people. But we did that because Bill Wallace wanted us to do that. And then he sets us up for failure. And we know that we have what is called awareness. I forgot the name of it off the top of my head, but basically what it is we have to have a spotter all the time that we're at the airport to make sure that if any aircraft comes into the pattern, that we're aware of it and we get our airplanes on the ground. Now, there's other clubs that are in close proximity to airports that they will take and put their airplanes into a designated holding pattern. They don't put them on the ground. But AMA strongly suggests that you put the airplane on the ground. So that's the way we view it as a club, that if there's a manned aircraft in the air, we will put our airplanes on the ground. And we understand that a powered craft has, dominance over the field prior to us. And we will give them the chance to do whatever they do, you know, and fly. But Bill Wallace, he was trying to set up in his own home a runway that is adjacent to the property of Ed LaTulip. And there was 2 trees at the very end of where he was making his runway at his home. And he was going to operate out of there. He was going to do his training of prospective clients right there. And we didn't see him at the airport for a while. And I'm like, it's kind of strange. Where is this guy? Why doesn't he come down here? And then once I finally realized that he was trying to do what he was doing there, I'm pretty close friends with Ed LaTulip. And Ed LaTulip didn't like it because they were flying over his house, and it became a noise abatement problem. They took it to the town of Rumney, and they said, sorry, you can't do this little operation that you want here. So what he did was he took from his home and he went down to the Plymouth airport. Now he holds the airport hostage. Again, he has the right to do that. He is an FAA licensed pilot, but he's not even being reasonable with this. I've told him, I've tried to have conversations with him, and they just turned very aggressive towards us. And I'm not an aggressive person. I've talked reasonably with this matter of this club with everybody and been able to hold my cool. But with him, he just goes out of his way to be a problem. And that's what he's doing.
Paul?
Mr. Chairman, it's time to add some institutional memory, which not all the board has, and how we got
Yeah.
to this. I was really good friends with Dick Sherman. Let him fly his planes even up at the recycling center, especially after we built the landfill. We started having trouble in town 4 or 5 years ago because airplanes could be flown, model aircraft, could be flown anywhere in town. Not too much longer after that, people started getting drones. You can get a drone for $90 now. We started having trouble even on campus. So between myself and law enforcement, we started to see a need that we needed to get control of where people could and couldn't fly model airplanes in Plymouth. And I was the one that came before the board and helped get the Sherman flyers out at the airport to give some kind of guidance to the rest of the people in town on how to do it the right way and to try to control and regulate where you could and could not fly model airplanes in the town of Plymouth, especially drones, because drones were starting to go up to dorms and taking pictures with cameras inside windows and knocking on windows and stuff like that. So bar any efforts that we would have to come up with to make all these kind of ordinances, we did that in lieu of. So along with that comes the problem that not everybody that flies out there are members of the Sherman Club. And both myself and the police department have seen other incidences that were mentioned here of close encounters with
Yeah.
controlled airplane flying, with occupants in the aircraft. And the incident of the hangar is just like they said too, that wasn't a member of the club, but neither myself nor the police department have the time to be able to supervise and enforce who does fly or doesn't fly out there. But that's our designated area for model aircraft flying in the town of Plymouth. We do have a policing issue. I don't know how you want to resolve that. It's,
Did you say a policing issue?
yes, when we see an aircraft, neither myself nor any of the police, we don't always have the time to pull into the hangar area, which is on the other side of the airport, not on the roadside, and find out whose aircraft that is that's flying over the field.
Right.
Or if we receive a complaint, we don't have always the time to go down there and see who it is that's doing it. So,
I have addressed that issue too with Colin, and I told Colin, I said, you know, how
how can we keep people that are non-club members from coming and saying, well, they should be able to fly there too? But being a club like we are, we have insurance on that field. I actually make sure that each year Colin gets a copy of that. And overall, we have $3 million worth of liability insurance that covers us at the airport there. Now, I've told Colin, I says, it's as simple as making that gate that where people come in, make it something that's locked. Make it so that, you know, there's only certain people that are allowed to get in there.
And in lieu of that, that's the problem that we ran into 3 or 4 years ago, that we were going to then turn it into an exclusive club, that the only way you could fly in this town was to have to join the club. And we truly entertained that because of the fact that they do have an incredible insurance policy to where somebody could go down to Walmart right now and buy a smaller type airplane that's going to cause just as much havoc in the sky should it hit a man-operated aircraft.
We have the issue, I would think, that we can't say that this person can and that person can't, I think is
Right,
what you're addressing.
it's hard to start forcing people to say you have to join a particular club.
But on the other hand, I suppose we could, maybe it would be reasonable to say something like, you can't do it unless you have insurance, for example, and have some
Right,
sort
and
of,
that's what I'm saying. It looks to
minimum
me that we're
requirement.
getting to the point that we are gonna have to start to do what we didn't want to do years ago, and that's to start coming up with an ordinance that regulates how and when and where you can fly a model aircraft or drone, especially, drones also, in the town of Plymouth.
I agree with Paul on the fact that it's just an extra ball of red tape to come up with ordinances and such. And every time you come up with one ordinance, it creates another problem.
right.
Well,
At
other
this-
hobbies in town are gonna be forced to have their own ordinances for whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Whether it's lawnmower racing, you name it, it'll come across my desk. So that's why we were trying not to go through ordinances, but I don't know how we have a club that is doing things correctly and has an insurance package that they come with. That $3 million insurance is quite a thing to have, especially if you're gonna be hitting somebody's hangar, versus the person that wasn't insured, outside of making it a civil matter every time something like this happens. But with that said, we also don't want to take a manned, occupied aircraft out of the air
No.
by a non-club member.
Can I
We've
just,
been,
yes, sir. You haven't said a word, so.
Yeah, I've been listening very well, though. I'm John Blair, the secretary for this local group. One of the things that strikes me, and I wonder if it's quickly asked as an aside, did I see a paintball or some sort of contesting area on South 3A in Plymouth, but down on the way to the spring, that is used in a way that might cause injury on occasion to passersby?
What, like somebody has a paintball facility on?
Business.
Well, is concrete sort of
Oh,
recreation.
the oil
That's
barrel.
where the
Is that what it
artwork,
is, a
Oh, the
skateboard?
skateboard
Oh,
park?
oh, that's the skateboard.
So I was just wondering if that's a parallel,
No, that's not
it's
paintball.
not paintball.
That's not paintball.
it's not, okay, it's
That's
colorful.
spray
so-
cans.
Spray cans.
That's
Okay.
graffiti.
That's
Very good.
graffiti with rattle.
So does that present sort of a similar struggle for the town in terms of insurance claims or whatever?
That falls under our park and rec program, and it is insured.
Yes, sir.
I think, at this point, we understand obviously the complications that is being asked of the Plymouth Airport. We understand that. And, we have been actively looking for another site. And Colin knew that. He knew that we were trying to find another site because the handwriting was on the wall. I've tried to always stay a couple steps ahead of everything here. But for the letter to be addressed to us in the manner that it was addressed, again, without us being able to even counter, I guess, some of the things that were being said. I know we're having the opportunity right now, but we just feel that the letter hurts us. It really hurts us as a club going forward, because our charter is actually in jeopardy at this time, because it's saying that we operate unsafe, which isn't true. It's not true. So we want the letter to be expunged from our...
Basically, what we're looking for is to get that safety issue.
And again, guys, if you don't want us at the Plymouth Airport, we'll go someplace else.
That's your prerogative, it's your airport.
But don't pin us with this trumped up charges.
The safety issue has been created by the powered parachute. We did not create that issue. And I think it's very unfair that this letter basically dumps that at our feet.
Okay. Paul?
You need to understand, in our business, when you're a municipality, sometimes there has to be a rapid-fire movement. And we've been challenged that should somebody perish out at that airport, there will be a lawsuit that this town will not be able to handle. When you're an airport manager in this town and you're getting paid basically about 20 cents an hour for the amount of hours that Colin puts in, he had to act rather quickly. We had witnessed aircraft, granted they weren't yours, but we had to find a way, and I haven't been able to, no, Colin got married, he's been out on a honeymoon. No, he's not back. It's, sometimes we have to act quickly before the town does get sued. And this is a young manager trying to make sure that the town is at its best interest. The primary use of that airport is for manned aircraft, not model airplanes. He had to act quickly. A lot of things have happened this spring. Not everything's had a chance to be investigated, but sometimes we have to do that cease and desist and then come back and revisit it like we're doing now. And I think that's what the board needs to do, is revisit it with the airport manager, but I think he acted properly, and we did receive complaints. We're talking life and limb here. We're not talking plastic and glue. Something had to be done, and the quickest thing to handle the problem at that particular time was that letter, where now myself, well, we know we go out there and any type of flying is stopped. We don't have the time to, again, who's a member of a club and who isn't.
Right.
Show us your ID. We've got a lot of other things we're taking care of in town now at the same time. So yes, I think we should go forward, talk to Colin, and see if there's something in between.
Yeah. Do you think Colin can be at our next meeting?
Yes, in 2 weeks.
And,
3 weeks, I'm sorry.
oh, it's 3 because of the Labor Day.
September
Yes.
12th?
September 12th.
Would one of you guys like to come to that meeting too,
I can arrange that.
or?
So if we could pick 2 selectmen tonight,
Mhm.
and myself and Kathy, the 4 of us will meet with Colin and see what we can come up with for the 12th.
I'll do that.
I'm not
Well-
supposed to do it.
No, Neil can't.
Mike will do
I-
it.
Mike,
Well,
I'll do it.
Mike
Well,
and
John,
John.
go. Well, we can't have a meeting. We only have 2.
Right, okay. You two are going?
Well, you guys can flip.
Hey, John
well,
and Mike, just flipped.
Okay.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I threw the coin up for you.
But-
It's tails.
I have a question and I understand what you're saying, but again, they were accusing them without,
But in
Their
our
club.
world, that's still hearsay until we investigate it. I'm just
but
trying to
did
see
anybody
about-
else get a letter like that? Or to see
We only have
some?
one club.
and I
Well,
was told that Colin would be here tonight, and we had that letter specifically for him, so that it basically followed the protocol of, he gave us the letter with a copy to the select board. We had the letter
I don't think
ready.
that's what John meant. I think
No.
John meant, did any other clubs get that letter or any other?
Oh,
club
no,
using it?
no.
what about the guy that ran into the
Hangar.
hangar, I
He
guess
has
you're
been
saying,
aware
whatever.
of it,
Huh?
yes.
And as far as we know, that whole situation has been addressed and is over with.
Right. So it was taken care of. Now, we do use law enforcement in this town. However, we go out there tonight and we see a model aircraft. Until this is resolved, we bring it down
Right.
until it's resolved. So
Right.
they're the only organized club that a letter could go to.
Yeah.
Else we would have to send us, anybody, like I said, could go a half hour after viewing this tonight and go get a drone and go out there in the airport and start flying it. We can't send a letter to everybody. We can only handle it as it happens.
Right, yeah.
So the hangar issue was handled.
Can people go out there and fly their planes when Colin is not there? Are people
Regular
free to-
planes?
Yeah.
Yes,
And is that true of the model planes as well?
yes,
It was up until this letter, yes.
Well, but I mean, that was the,
right.
and so similarly, I suppose, someone who's not a member of the club, who might not
Even
be as
now,
careful as these guys,
or might
could
not even know about
also
it.
go there.
It hasn't been posted, no
Right.
fly.
But we also can't afford anything more than a 20-cent an hour airport.
No, I'm not suggesting we have a
saying-
full-time manager or anything. I was just curious about how.
We
I would
had
think the
a,
first person that picked up a model airplane that didn't have a yard big enough to fly it would think that the airport's the perfect place to go fly it.
well, we had a sign there, it was part of our sign, that again, there was a section on it that said that this was a designated site for just Sherman flyers, and that it was not to be used by anybody else. It was a sanctioned site just by the AMA for Sherman flyers only.
And that's what's gonna go wrong. So now I go buy a plane tonight, and I'm not a sanctioned member.
Now, that is the
That
problem.
takes me out of that no-fly zone and puts me right into the fly zone.
Yeah, if somebody goes somewhere else
So-
where it's not as safe, yeah.
Right. And we can't have 6 different sanctioned fly zones out there.
So I think we understand. Why don't we have a meeting with Colin and see what he has to say and what it is, try to come up with some kind of a solution.
The date on that again?
Well, September 8th is our next meeting.
September 12th.
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry, 12th.
6
And
p.m.
then I imagine we'll try to meet internally with Colin prior to that date.
Yes.
Because we kind of, I suppose we could have him at our meeting and hear his side of the
No,
story.
he'll be here also on the 12th, but
Yeah.
we need to, like to have some substance when we come in.
It'd be nice to know, where he's coming from and what he feels about. And I'm sure he's gonna have to, he will say that when he's here too, I assume, but we'll have a better idea of what his circumstance is, because I don't think any of us have spoken to him about this. I was unaware of it until tonight, so. So how many members do you have? How many people fly?
Right now, we have 4 active members.
So it's not a large group.
It's not a large group, and this year was really going to be our launching year. I have kept Colin in the loop of everything we've done. Anything that has gone on, I have sent him emails of our minutes, everything.
I could
Kept him in
imagine
the
though,
loop.
if this got to be a club with, 30 or 40 members or something.
Yeah, I would like to see that happen, but it's very highly unlikely. I'm a member of the, the club is based out of Lebanon. They have a flying field. It's in Canaan, just before you get into Enfield. A very, very active club. And what did they say Saturday? They-
32
30.
members.
Yeah.
32 members. This is a club that's been in the works for close to 30 years. And they have probably 12 to 15 active flyers. Very seldom do you get them all together at once. This Saturday, we had what they call a fun fly. They invite other clubs, they invite anybody that's an AMA member to come in. They have hot dogs, hamburgers, and soda, and everybody just has a good time. But that's a club that's been in operation for that amount of time. Even at that, they still probably, on an average, probably don't have more than 6 flyers at the field at any given time. So as much as I would like to see this club take right off.
No pun intended.
Yeah. But it's,
Well, yes, Paul.
Are all you from Plymouth?
I'm from Rumney, Todd's from Rumney,
Haven.
John's from Haven.
And the fourth member?
Used to be from Plymouth.
He's in Groton.
All right.
Is it,
Well, we'll
Mr. Chair?
see you on the 12th, somebody on the 12th. maybe.
All right,
We'll
well,
talk about it.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Thank you.
So I think John thinks it's me and I think it's John, so.
No, you
John and
go,
Mike.
you go, Mike.
Okay, it's Mike and Mike.
Mike squared it is. All right, well, the next item here is new purchase orders. It says recycling, Lloyd number 8096, and approve.
They've unexpected.
Jesse had come before you,
Yes.
and we had guesstimated $60,000 for the repair of the recycling center roof, and it went a little bit over that amount, so this is really,
Just an
Change order.
adjustment. Yeah,
Okay,
change
so
order.
we have a,
our biggest
purchase-
fear came true when we took the rubber off the top of the roof, all the metal on it, all of it, not just some of it like the other roof, all of it was rotted through.
all right, so we had a purchase order for $60,000 to do the roof. And now we have a new purchase order for $61,090, and the proposal is that we void the prior one and approve this one.
We could have added a second order, but this is the easier way.
So any discussion about that?
Was this because they found
More
something
metal.
they didn't expect?
I just said we guesstimated how much metal would be damaged under the roof, and this time it was all of it, instead of like the other roof where it was just partially.
I make a motion that we void the original purchase order that we approved and now approve the new one for $61,090.
Second.
All right, so we've got a motion by Mike, second by Neil. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 And the roof did come out nice.
Is that all we have?
I jumped the gun a little bit there.
I'd say we got to the roof just in time.
Was it pretty bad?
Yeah.
Have you been up there?
The Old Farmer's Almanac says we're gonna get a lot of snow.
A lot of bees.
The bees are up high.
All right, and then, we have, where's that letter? So we've got this, request under RSA 91A, the right to know law from Cleveland Waters and Bass, a law firm in Concord, which is telling us that they represent Exeter Health Resources, Inc., and they want copies of any documents in our possession. I guess we're a city now that embodies, refers to, or relates in any way to agreements for payments in lieu of taxes with Spear Memorial Hospital. So they're looking for copies of our pilot agreement with Spear or any other medical facility in the city in effect in the last 5 years. That's basically it. So we have a pilot with Spear. We do not have a pilot with any other medical facility in town right now, except that we are in the midst of a battle with Midstate which is insistent that it doesn't want to pay any taxes at all and has sued us over it, actually. And if that comes to pass, we're going to lose.
About 134, we'll lose $67,000 a year for eternity, but we'll be right off the bat having to pay back $134,000 because they are contesting 2 years, and we'll see how the mediation goes in September. So immediately, we're gonna lose $134,000 if we lose. After that, it'll be $67,000 a year.
So there may or may not be a pilot agreement with them, but we do have one with Spear, and John Radigan told us that
I just want to mention, and we're talking two different things, though.
Yeah, we are.
That doesn't have anything to do with the letter, but it could be another one in the future.
Could be another one, yeah. Well, they said any others, but I was kind of saying, we don't have any others at
We
this
only
point,
have one.
but we have something in the works.
And in the course of Kathy going through all the minutes that they're requesting and they can legally have, she's come across the non-public sessions that you need to release them by vote.
So our legal advice is that since these decisions were made in non-public, and we need to vote to release the minutes of those meetings in order to provide them under the right-to-know law. So do we have a motion to release those minutes and our pilot agreement with Spear?
I make a motion, we release the documents under the right to know law.
Only to that company and their attorney.
Only to
To Cleveland Waters and Bass. in
Cleveland
relation
Water
to
and
their
Bass, PA.
Representation of Exeter Health Resources, Inc. Do we have a second to John's motion
I'll second it.
by Mike? Any further discussion on that?
Yes, once again, we just need to remind the public that we do not know the true reason that they're requesting that information. But we are obligated to supply it.
All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, it's an affirmative vote. And committee reports, anybody have any updates on?
Oh, I met with the North Country Council, and I was voted onto the Board of Directors.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I've been serving on the Transportation Committee since last spring, and they added me to the Economic Development Committee. So I'm hoping to have some input there and see if we can get some of the things we need for Plymouth.
Good.
I also met with the Conservation Commission last week. It's our first meeting since I think it was the end of May, early June, and we covered a number of areas regarding trails and involving students from the university in conservation projects. The university has the new academic major system where people can have basically 3 majors that they're working on. I think they call it the 7 points. And it's a lot different. It's something revolutionary. It's new at the university. And it's going to involve a lot of opportunity for students to become involved with projects in the town, like the Conservation Commission.
Good. Anybody else?
No, mine will start up in September, my first one, for the school.
All right, yeah.
I went to the board meeting for the Central New Hampshire Chamber on the 12th of August. There's been some interest in the building on Exit 28. They are discussing whether they would like to further entertain offers that have been put forward, or possibly try and use the building, utilize it for the chamber use, and continue to hold on to it. Waterville Valley ski area and Waterville Valley, the businesses sent a couple of representatives down to say the importance of the building and continuing its use. So the board met with them. Their next meeting looks like it's going to be Thursday, the 8th of September. And They had a Member Appreciation Day, 4:30 to 6:30 on the 19th of August. They had an after-hours meeting on the 17th, Wednesday, at Frosty Scoops from 5 to 6, so they're active, very active, and I'm
Good.
still giving them a lot of good cheer for what they're doing right now.
Chamber's gonna be back in business, we hope. All right.
Well, they opened the new hotel.
Oh, it's open?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Nice. That's exciting. I don't need to stay there since I live here already, but.
You can drive by.
Public comment?
Public has no comment.
And I guess that's it. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
By Mike, second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.